I'm a big fan of reading. Losing myself in a good story often brings me joy, inspiration, and allows me to zoom out and reflect on my own life. And the same goes for non-fictional books. When I'm reading about profound insights from psychology or about the immense beauty of nature, I find myself being humbler, more motivated, and more energetic than usual. Yet I have trouble reading more than 10 pages a day without getting distracted. And the weird thing is, I know why this is the case. I know that social media are constantly fighting for my attention. I know that having a resource so powerful you can find the answer to any question within less than a second makes me lazy and impacts the way I think. And I know that the stimulation my brain gets from reading the news on my phone makes me crave more of that stimulation. But knowing this doesn't seem to matter. Like many other people, I really wanted to break this cycle of overstimulation. So I went on YouTube and I found countless videos with advice on how to prevent the internet from taking over your life.
I recommend beginning this process with deleting Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and any other social media apps you use from your phone for just one day.
Be intentional with it. Try to plan out how much time you actually want to be spending and be conscious of that decision.
Do not check social media, email, or any messages while in bed.
These videos have helped me a lot. Implementing some of this advice have certainly made me more conscious of how I spend my time. Although I could definitely still improve, I am way more mindful about my social media consumption than I used to be. For example, I can now read 15 pages a day. Thank you. Thanks. I'm amazing, I know. But the fact that I first needed to take action in order to be able to do what I want with my time has really made me think. Apparently, if I'm into reading books, I first have to change my life and alter my habits so that I will actually read books. And that seems undesirable, at the very least. Thinking about this made me wonder, can I still make my own choices? Am I, as a human being with certain ideas, plans, and intentions, still in full control of what I do with my life? Now you could say, of course you're in charge. Social media may be somewhat addictive, but as long as no one is putting a gun to your head and telling you to keep scrolling, you're free to do what you want. But that's not the whole story. As a result of the internet, its capacities for the large-scale collection of personal data, and modern capitalism, behavioral manipulation has become a mainstream technique. It's now an established way that companies, political actors, and governments use to influence the choices that people make. When I speak about behavioral manipulation, I'm talking about two things: addictive design and nudging. Together, these practices and their ubiquity pose a fundamental threat to human autonomy and the free will. Let's have a look at each one. Firstly, addictive design. As you probably know, free social media apps can earn money because they show targeted ads. You spending more time on an app directly means more profit for them, for two reasons. More ads can be shown and more data can be collected. So in order to maximize the time you spend looking at these apps, social media companies use psychological tricks. Researchers have categorized these techniques into three groups based on the psychological weaknesses that each one takes advantage of. The first one is craving. This type of strategy takes advantage of the chemical, physical response our brains have to certain types of stimuli. The most prominent example of this is notifications. The brain releases dopamine when it gets a reward, even more so when it's given randomly and unpredictably. So when you receive a notification from Instagram about a like, a comment, or a new follower, you get chemical satisfaction that motivates you to open the app. The second category is obligation. Strategies in this category take advantage of the human desire for comfort. We are inherently social and we seek stability and reassurance from other humans. When other people make social gestures, our brain tells us we should reciprocate. So if you get a new follower, you may feel inclined to follow them back. But there are also less obvious ways in which this technique is used. For example, being able to see when another person has read your message. If the other person can see that you've read a message, you're more likely to respond. The third category is deception. Strategies that fall under this category take advantage of human gullibility. This is done by manipulating users into doing something they weren't necessarily planning to do through the design of an interface. A good example of this are the timelines that you see in almost every social media app. Instead of content being categorized on different pages that you have to click through, all content is loaded on a single page. This makes you less likely to stop scrolling when you've had enough. Addictive design strategies have turned mobile platforms into the main form of human-computer interaction. By using psychological techniques that captivate us at the primal level, tech giants have turned our free time into their free time. Secondly, nudging. In 2008, Richard Thaler coined the term nudge, which he defined as a small feature in the environment that attracts our attention and influences our behavior. When we are nudged, we are unconsciously pushed into making a certain choice that we weren't necessarily planning to make. Many examples of this can be seen in the design of grocery stores. The most profitable items are placed at eye level, making you more inclined to choose them. Some sections are better lit than others, making you move in their direction, and the logic of the different sections is just confusing enough to make you stay inside a little bit longer. When it was first described, nudging was seen as a powerful tool for improving people's well-being. Human decision-making can be flawed, and the choices we make are often not in our own best interest. Nudging could help push us into making healthier, safer, and more sustainable decisions. But we live in a capitalist society, so naturally nudging is not only used to improve people's well-being. As I described, it's already being used by supermarkets to make you choose certain products or to make you stay longer. But the fact that huge companies like Facebook and Google now have large data sets with personal information about you and me endlessly increases the possibilities for nudging behavior. How does this work? You've probably heard of the Cambridge Analytica data scandal. Cambridge Analytica used data from Facebook to identify target voter groups. They knew exactly which kind of messaging different types of people would be susceptible to, and on which platforms these people would consume information. They also knew how many times a message needed to be shown in order for you to change the way you think about something. This shows that in the age of big data, there are no limits for nudging. When a physical store implements some design choices that make people choose certain products over others, they have to rely on psychological realities that are the same for everyone. All customers are influenced in the same way, and that will always mean some people are influenced more than others. But in today's world, social media and advertisers have access to very specific information about almost everyone. They can figure out all the different ways in which they should target all different types of customers. Every single person can now be nudged in the way that they are the most vulnerable to. There are virtually no limits to how far this type of manipulation can go. And the most disturbing fact about this is that we don't even realize when it happens. So, considering all of these ways in which our behavior is influenced, I think there are fundamental questions to ask about human autonomy and the free will. Where do we draw the line between influencing and manipulating? How should we think about the free will when our choices are constantly being pushed into a certain direction? In my opinion, the public debate about social media, big data, and privacy should also include this conversation. By asking these questions and staying critical at all times, we can hopefully move towards a digital and physical world that respects the choices that we want to make. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you're still here, I really want to hear what you think about this. Do you think that influencing people's behavior in the ways that we talked about is ethical? How far can social media companies go when they're making their software addictive? Where should we draw the line? Please do let me know in the comments. I would love to chat about this stuff with you. And yeah, thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one.